I remember distinctly going to the A&P on 45th with my mother, and she would grind coffee on a large red machine, and out would come this fragrance, and I was 4 years old. And I never forget falling in love with that fragrance, and I could not wait to taste it. I got in the Air Force and I tasted it, and I was so mad. I said, well, who could make something that smelled so good taste so bad? I was furious. The Northwest attracts people because of its beauty. And when people move across the country and they select a beautiful place to settle, they bring with them a certain tendency to want quality in food.
Hey, whoa! Welcome to Seattle.
And of course, coffee. A good cup of coffee made with a French press or drip should have some body and richness and not be bitter. And the dominant factor is always freshness. I mean, it's pretty well known now that coffee isn't something you can get out of a can that's been on a shelf for 6 months. When you come in for a beautiful cup, you've got a little bit of an aesthetic sanctuary. Yeah, that's nice. That's a gorgeous one.
Nice one.
Ah, she's wicked bad. What's one of the sweet little pleasures of life? It's not so serious. I grew up in an engineering family where a miscalculation could put a plane in a mountain. But in coffee, if you miss a cup, you miss a cup. We try not to, but it's nobody dies. So that's a good thing.
That's good coffee.
People associate Seattle with coffee, and maybe for that reason there have been a lot of people who have been putting their life into sourcing and roasting great coffee here in the city. I don't know of any other city that has access to as many micro roasters as Seattle does. And so there's a lot of good coffee being produced here, and I think for that reason, when someone wants to decide what is excellent coffee, they come to Seattle to find it. Obviously, there's a history going back of large companies that have grown from small little roasters. I think it sort of just brought the world's attention to Seattle, and people that live here consider themselves to be coffee connoisseurs, pretty much from top to bottom in the city.
That's a beautiful bean.
As we're roasting coffee, there are some technical components that certainly go along with it. You have to know, what temperatures to start at and how long to roast. But there's also definitely an artistic component to roasting coffee. Watching them roast is kind of like you realize they have a sixth sense about how to treat certain coffees and how to draw out the sweet components and how to really make the most of each coffee that we buy.
As you can see, the color's changing. The beans actually are beginning to open up. There's a distinct, very, very sweet, pungent smell. It really hits you in the back of your throat. They go from a nice, tight little green state to what will soon look like roasted coffee beans.
Baristas are responsible for that final brew of the coffee.
It's a craft. Every drink that you make is an opportunity to hone what are very finite skills. It's also an opportunity in some cases to express yourself. I've always liked the ritual of it. It's always been a big part of my family tradition. But then cafe culture was just intriguing to me. There's just, artists and musicians are, typically the people that, staff these kinds of businesses, and I'm a musician, and between the coffee and the art and the music all coming together, it seemed a perfect fusion.